You're listening to Fulfilling Career, Happy Life, the podcast for accomplished professionals who want to identify what's next in their career and make it happen without compromising what matters most. I'm your host, Randi Roberts, an executive and career life coach, and I'm glad you're here. If you want to feel more energized about your work again, this show is for you. So let's get into it. So this week, I promised you that we were going to start talking about the career satisfaction assessment that I put together, which is based on 8 different dimensions or themes that I've pulled from the things that my clients most often talk about. You know, my clients come to me because either they're trying to get ahead more quickly in their career, or perhaps something isn't feeling right and they're not clear about their goal anymore, or they want to get more clear about like what really means something to them at this point in their lives. And so the themes that I pick up that really have to do with career satisfaction are the ones that have gone into the document that I put together, the assessment. That there's a link here that you can download, or you can go to my website and get it. But basically what it is I took a look at these 8 different dimensions, and there's a scale here. You assess each one on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is practically perfect, which I stole from Mary Poppins, and 1 is completely dissatisfied. So it just gives you a sense an opportunity to reflect on these 8 different dimensions and sort of tell yourself where you are on each of them. They don't all have to be 10s. In fact, they very rarely all are, but the right ones have to be high enough. And there usually has to be some sort of balance. So, you know, you may feel like, or for folks who feel like there's something missing, it might be that a lot of them are just kind of hanging around the middle, or the wrong ones aren't high enough. But taking the assessment and looking at what that looks like for you can be really telling. So, where we are, where did I want to start? And for me, like, I could make a case that any of the 8 of them are the most important. So I had to choose something. It was almost like picking which is my favorite kid, which is actually kind of funny because for those of you who know me, you know I have 1 kid, so I don't know what that's like, but imagining. So where I decided to start was the one that was really speaking to me this week, and that is making a difference. That's absolutely one of the dimensions that's really important to career satisfaction, not for everybody, but for many, many people. And it means something different to different people. For some people, it's making a difference in small ways. To my family, to my immediate team at work. And for other people, it's grand. It's, impacting climate change or curing a disease. It doesn't matter if it's small or if it's grand. What matters is what's important to you. And so it's good to think about, how do you want to make a difference? Even if you think about the example, like for your family, that could mean a lot of different things. That could mean putting a roof over their head, like you going to a job and bringing home the support that your family needs to, allow your kids to do their activities or save for college or whatever that means to you. That's making a huge difference. But sometimes it goes sort of another level, which is the company I'm with, are they making a difference? If you're a person who's mission driven, that may be something that's really important to you. I know for myself, in my first career as a pharmaceutical executive, I absolutely loved knowing that the mission of this company, the end result of the products that we used, either improved lives, saved lives, extended lives, whatever, it made people's lives better. And the pharma industry takes take some knocks for sure, and some of them are deserved. But the bottom line is I felt at home there because I knew that it was a place that I could do some good while I was doing well. And that was really important to me. So it's great to think about, is that important to you? And, how has that felt at times when you have felt fulfilled in that area? Like, what did that mean to you? And if it's an area that you would score low right now, what's missing and how can you fill it? And that's essentially what this is about, is taking a look at the assessment and the areas that are low for you. How can you bring them up? And what difference would that make? And that's what some of the assessment can take you through too. Okay, so what's the action here? The action really is to think about, what does making a difference mean for you in big or small ways? Like, what is it that puts wind in your sails in that regard? And to always behave consistently with what's the outcome that you're trying to achieve. So, there's an example. I was talking to a client this week that really kind of went to this theme of making a difference. For her, she was feeling frustrated because a meeting that she had attended, she was feeling as though, she prepared, she showed up for the meeting ready to contribute. She said things, she contributed as appropriate. And it was one of those situations where she didn't feel her voice was heard. She might say something and then somebody else might say what felt to her the same thing. And it got traction when they said it, but it really didn't. It didn't when she said it. And so she walked out of that meeting feeling like her presence, her energy, her investment of time made no difference at all. So, in that moment, that's a clear example of how that can be really demotivating to someone. If you feel that your time there didn't make a difference. So it's good to ask yourself, like, what's your desired outcome in that situation? And how can you line up what you do and your approach with what you want to have happen? So, for example, if she wanted to have her ideas gain traction and be accepted and really walk out of there knowing that she made a difference, she can ask herself, how can she show up differently to have a greater likelihood of making that happen? Look, you can't control all factors. You can't control what someone else hears or what they say back. But what you can control, or usually influence to a great degree, is how you present yourself and what it is that you say and how you get your message across. And if you feel you could be more effective in that way, sometimes it's good to pattern yourself after someone that you think does it really well. An interesting thing also about making a difference is, and it occurred to me the other night, like, I think there might be a generational component to this in some ways. So people who are a little bit older than me, but I channel their spirit, sort of the hippie generation, if you will, that was all about changing the world. And I mean, I love that. It's, it's big and it's bold, and in many ways they did it. And I have a bit of that spirit, even though I will remind you again, I'm younger than that. But that's really, that was a dynamic at that time. And then I think, like, when I was coming up and when I was first getting going in my career and my peers, we were all about putting our head down and getting hard work done and sort of, doing well and being recognized for it, but also the thought that the rewards would come later and there was time for greater balance in our lives later and that kind of thing. And for many of us, those were the years that our kids were home. Like, there is no later, they're gone. So I think there's some flawed thinking. And where I think that the generational component comes in is when I look at millennials now, and, sort of the people that are just getting started and a couple of years into their career. And I'm going to speak in generalities, but, there are people that think that millennials are entitled. And I've thought a lot about that. I heard somebody say that the other day, and I thought about that, and I thought, there's something beautiful to one aspect of entitlement, whether you believe that or not. One of the things that I think they do feel maybe it is entitled to is the opportunity to make a difference, the opportunity to have a balanced life and really be tapped into things that are fulfilling early on. I think people in general in that generation are smarter about it than I was and that my peers were maybe. I think they're ahead of the curve on it. And it's exciting to see where they can take that. If you sort of awaken to that earlier, the arc of difference is greater over the course of a career. So, I do think maybe there's a generational change, but I'd love to hear what you guys think, if that's a factor in this at all. But whatever making a difference means, it means something different to people, but it means something to everybody. So that was where I felt called to start with the assessment. For those of you who haven't downloaded it, go for it. Take a look at it. So if you're someone who likes a homework assignment, here's one. Download it and think about the category, the dimension of making a difference. Think about where you fit on that. And is that something that's important to adjust in some way? If you're not as high as you want to be, there's probably things that you can do to boost that up, which will help your career satisfaction. And I mean, it's not about our career is a big part of our lives. So if your career is more fulfilling, your life's going to be happier for sure. So that's your assignment if you choose to accept it. We're going to do another one of these dimensions next week. And next week we are going to do challenge. So next week, join me again and we'll talk about challenge. Have a great week. Thanks so much for listening to Fulfilling Career, Happy Life. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, follow, rate, and review. Do all the things to show your support for this podcast. It helps other professionals who want to feel more energized about their work again find us. And if you want to take this thinking further, please follow me on LinkedIn, where I share content on a regular basis. You can also get on my email list by downloading the Career Satisfaction Assessment or through my website. All these links are in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in. I truly appreciate that you make the time for yourself to listen to the show. See you next week.